$1 million lakefront dream home went up in flames under suspicious circumstances. The Homeowners Association president stood before the smoldering ruins, clipboard in hand, insisting it was just about enforcing community standards. Then she locked eyes with the man in the sheriff's uniform, the son of the homeowner she'd been targeting for months. Some lines should never be crossed. For 30 years, Tom Bradley had served Pine Lake County with unwavering dedication. Starting as a rookie deputy, he rose to county sheriff, earning a reputation for fairness and integrity that made him a pillar of the community. "I've watched this county grow from a quiet rural retreat to a hot spot," he said. "Lakes once lined with fishing shacks now boast million-dollar homes. But no matter how grand the houses got, I always believed good neighbors were the heart of a community." Tom's father, James Bradley, was a self-made man who spent his life chasing one dream: retirement on the shores of Crystal Lake. At 72, after decades running his construction business, James broke ground on his dream home 3 years ago. "Dad designed every detail himself," Tom recalled. It was his first home for himself after building for countless families. The 3,800-square-foot timber and stone masterpiece took nearly 3 years to complete, with touches like a hand-carved staircase started by his father and finished by James and floor-to-ceiling windows framing the lake like a painting. It wasn't just a house. It was a promise to his late wife that they'd one day share that view. He moved in a year after her passing, telling Tom, "I feel her in every room." After 45 years of hard work, James finally found peace on that deck, watching eagles soar over the water. 3 months after settling in, James suffered a massive heart attack. Facing complex bypass surgery and months of recovery, he gripped Tom's hand the night before the operation and said, "Take care of my house, son. It's my legacy." Tom promised to protect it, a vow soon tested in unimaginable ways. James's home stood out for its craftsmanship, blending seamlessly with the landscape. The stone was locally quarried, the timber sustainably sourced. It was built to endure harsh winters and catch summer breezes. Unlike the flashy glass and marble homes nearby, James's had soul. Margaret called it rustic, like it was a flaw, Tom said. Dad took it as praise. Tom kept his connection to James discreet within the Lakeside Heights community. As sheriff, he separated personal and professional life. Margaret, the HOA president, knew his last name but never linked him to Jameser, the sheriff's office. The common Bradley surname helped her arrogance blind her to the truth. Lakeside Heights had evolved from a modest lakefront enclave into a high-value retreat. Under Margaret Evans, the HOA morphed into a controlling force. A former Chicago executive displaced by a whistleblowing scandal, Margaret arrived 2 years ago, seizing the HOA presidency within 6 months by preaching traditional values. Unknown to most, James had testified against her husband in a fraud case 15 years earlier, sending him to prison. She recognized the Bradley name instantly and began her vendetta, targeting James and others tied to her husband's downfall, like a retired judge and a former prosecutor using the HOA as her weapon. The first citation came 3 weeks after James's surgery, a $500 fine for an accessibility ramp he'd built for recovery, deemed an unauthorized modification. More followed: unapproved lighting, improper boat storage, each with escalating fines. Tom called Margaret, explaining James's condition, but she snapped. Rules don't bend for illness. If he can't keep up, maybe Lakeside Heights isn't for him. Her tone hinted at something personal. As James's recovery faltered, the harassment intensified. Margaret sent weekly reports with photos of violations, like bird feeders, despite others vying the same. Tom, bound by his role, avoided official intervention, instead documenting everything and consulting the county attorney. By the time James reached rehab, the HOA slapped a $33,000 lien on his property. At an HOA meeting, Tom pleaded as a son, not sheriff, but Margaret projected James's home on a screen, calling it neglect that ruins value, then stared at Tom and said, "Maybe this isn't his community." Later, she muttered, "Some don't deserve paradise," revealing her true motive. A small win came at a town council meeting when Tom, as sheriff, exposed Margaret's selective enforcement without mentioning James. Her power grab failed, fueling her desperation. One weekend, Tom found a letter at James's door. The HOA planned emergency remediation Monday, billing James at a $150 fan-tram markup. Tom called Margaret, warning her off as James's legal representative. She claimed authority under the covenant, but Tom countered. That's for common areas, not homes. This is trespassing. She sneered. People like you think rules don't apply. That house will conform or be gone. Tom installed cameras that weekend. Sunday, a neighbor texted, Margaret was scoping the property with a suited man. Monday, during a commissioner's meeting, Tom's phone buzz cameras showed trucks at James's house, then Margaret directing men with no contractor gear. One was a known arson suspect. At 9:15, Deputy Larson called. They're dousing the foundation, Mike. This isn't remediation. Then the fire department reported a blaze. Tom raced over, sirens blaring, praying he wasn't too late. The house was an inferno when he arrived, timber fueling the flames. Margaret approached the fire chief, clipboard in hand, asking if contractors finished before the unfortunate incident. Seeing Tom in uniform, her confidence cracked. Sheriff Bradley, he said, stepping forward, James's son. The man you've been tormenting. Her face paled. I'm just documenting, she stammered. Show me the work order, Tom demanded. She clutched her tablet tighter, mumbling about calls to make. Deputy Larson reported detaining 3 men. One confessed the HOA president paid cash to torch it, framing it as an insurance job. Margaret paled further. That's a lie, she cried, but Tom cut in. Stay silent until your lawyer arrives. This is an investigation now. Security footage showed accelerants, phone records, and a due law 5,000 withdrawal tied her to the crew. Her home office held a chilling dossier, a timeline ending with final resolution on the fire's date, a clipping of her husband's trial with James's testimony highlighted, and a list of targets, James at the top. Margaret had duped developer Richard Holt into devaluing properties for profit, but emails to her sister revealed her true goal. Richard thinks it's money. It's justice. James ruined Frank's life. Now I'll take his house. She loathed James's refusal to conform, calling him an old fool holding us back. Her misstep? Targeting the sheriff's father, unaware of Tom's reach. 3 weeks later, Margaret was arrested for arson, conspiracy, and fraud. At her arraignment, James, frail but firm, stared her down as she pleaded not guilty. Evy Denke overwhelmed her. The judge sentenced her to 18 years, saying, You terrorized a community, not protected it. James whispered to Tom, She destroys. We rebuild. 6 months later, James, healthier, redesigned his home with insurance funds and lawsuit winnings. Neighbors and ex-HOA members helped rebuild, healing the community. New HOA rules ensured fairness, and James's law passed, protecting homeowners. 18 months on, James moved in, smiling on his new deck. They took the house, he told Tom, but not the dream. That's fireproof. At a retirement party 2 years later, James said, Margaret thought she'd end me. But my dream justice, family, legacy lives in this house, and you, son. No fire can touch that.